On this day, 2 weeks ago, George Floyd was murdered. He was arrested under suspicion of using bad money, specifically a counterfeit $20 bill. And George Floyd was not a perfect human. He initially resisted the arrest. He had methamphetamine and fentanyl in his system. He has a record and has served jail time in another state. I mean, he was not a perfect human. But his death wasn't warranted. There was nothing right about any part of this situation. I'm Nicole for Dear Teacher Instructional Coaching, and this episode is about what we as educators need to do to end systemic racism. So by this time, we all know the story. It's been all over the place. We know the officers have been arrested and charged. We know what the autopsy report has shown us. We know that there have been both peaceful protests and violent riots. And we know that everything in this was wrong. Like, every single part of it is wrong. And we can choose. I always believe so. We can't always control the events that happen to us or even around us, but we can control our reactions to it. It's a very important lesson that we have to teach our students. And it's an important lesson for you as an adult and an educator to know. How are you going to respond to what is happening right now? So, we have a couple choices. One, we can be angry. And we can fill our hearts up with hatred because we as human beings tend to go towards negativity. That's what we tend to do. It is in our genetic makeup. And you have to mentally and physically and consciously fight against that tendency to get angry and instead choose love, choose peace, choose acceptance, choose understanding, choose empathy. That's the choice we have to make. Love has to win. It has to. And the thing that's so challenging about that, we can be angry. You have every right to your feelings. But how you act on those feelings is really what develops who you are. I watched a video about a man who was talking about Martin Luther King saying, I have a dream of a day that I will not be judged by the color of my skin, but the content of my character. Well, a part of your reactions to what is going on is developing your character and developing who you are and developing how other people see you. That's important. The content of your character is based on your responses to things that happen to you and around you. So, although I have spent a lot of time these past 2 weeks reading, keeping up with the story, educating myself, reading, seeing, both sides, if there really can be both sides of this issue, and there's been a few things that have really stood out to me that I want to talk about. And now that I've kind of sat back and watched things unfold, I really feel like it's time to talk about solutions and our responsibility as educators. The kids in our rooms are the kids who are going to make the difference. And it's our job to train them to make that difference. So first things first, if you don't understand systemic racism, I'm posting a link to a video that is trending all over the place that very simply explains it. And it was like a freaking train hit. Like my eyes just opened up when I saw that. And I was like, holy crap. And that's just, you do the best you can. I saw this somewhere too. You do the best you can until you know better. And then once you know better, you do better. Okay, I didn't know better. I thought I knew better. I thought I was empathetic and understanding. I thought I had a good grasp on this. And then when I watched that video, I was like, dang, okay, now I know better. So now it's time to do better. I knew that there is a difference in socioeconomic status with my students, and that a lot of that socioeconomic status is coincidentally, however, not coincidentally, linked to their race. And I knew that was there, and I was empathetic, but I never really understood how the system made that happen. So if you're not sure or don't understand systemic racism, please take a look at that video that is linked. So now that we know better, we're going to do better. And that just means being better as human beings. So I'm going to have a lot of links on here because I want to be giving credit to people. So one of my favorite posts so far is from Brendan Burchard. And he has, I'm actually going to make sure I take a look at it. So I have it linked, and it's a video of 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And his post that's linked there. So you have the video, and underneath you have what he wrote. And it's what he wrote that is so incredible to me. And I encourage you to read the entire thing. But the thing that I really want to talk about is his section that has ideas for personal change. And so here are his ideas for personal change. 1, examine your own mind, bias, and way of relating and living. Root out the judgmental thoughts and open your mind once more. Learn we're all part of this. 2, study history. If you are shocked by this and this is a new problem to you, study history. 3, use your voice and share your feelings and ideas without generalizing, accusing, or speaking for others. So I'm going to pause there because this whole idea of making generalizations has got to stop. And we all do it. If you know what generalizing is and you start to pay attention to it, you will hear it come out of everybody's mouths, including your own. Even, and a lot of times, it's a joke supposed to be funny. But we have to be careful, women can't drive and Asians can do math. Ha ha ha, no wonder he's good at that subject. That's going to build into bigger things. Now, all of a sudden, we're saying things that are more escalated. Like, all Democrats want things for free. Or all iGen kids are lazy. It's not true. All cops are bad. Nah. All blacks are criminals. Not even freaking close. And it's just, it seems like the bad gets highlighted. Because remember, we're built to go towards negativity. And we have to actively choose positive thinking. So when you hear those things or say those things, those generalizations come from a very small group of people that just tend to be, here's the deal, the negative people tend to be the loudest. And in education, and if you've ever been a coach, you get that. You hear that loud and clear. You might have 95% support, but that 5%, god dang it, they're loud. You know, that actually makes me think of the Nickelback song, Silent Majority. What if the silent majority wasn't silent anymore? Maybe we should think about that and start speaking up a little bit more, start behaving better. So, when I was growing up, my parents and my teachers, and I'm sure this is the same for a lot of you, always said, think before you speak. And I kind of feel like I've stopped doing that. I feel like I'm so quick to respond that I'm not thinking through what the response actually is. And a part of that is I'm also like a pretty solution-oriented person. I like to be efficient. I like to be effective. I like to get stuff done in a timely fashion. And so sometimes when that happens, I'm so quick to respond that I haven't thought about like all of the avenues, or I haven't really thought through my words all that well. And I don't see me having like quick reactions when it comes to working on something as a team. So like building curriculum, for example. I mean, like I'm quick to throw out ideas, but those are just ideas. I'm not trying to be like solution oriented. But even such things as, okay, so here's just an example. Yesterday, my significant other and I were coming back from having supper together. And we pulled into our driveway, and a storm was coming. Like, we had, like, hail, 70-mile-per-hour winds last night. It was awful. And he was like, I'm just going to leave my truck outside. And instantly I said, why don't you, with a terrible tone, too, why don't you just pull the pickup in? It's going to storm, and then it's over with. And he's like, your camp chair is in my way. Whoops. So I had all this sass that was totally unnecessary. And if I would have just opened my eyes and thought to myself, why is he stopping out here? That's weird. He knows there's an impending doom that is coming. And just looked, or even just asked in a more kind way, why aren't you pulling in? It would have been a different interaction. And I wouldn't have felt like such an idiot afterwards. So, and then that's a really simple, like, small example of me just blurting something out, like mental puke, right? And we have to be super careful, and I'm very intentional about my words around my students, but we all need to be very intentional about our words around our students. That's very important. A lot of times they are spending more time with us than they are with any other adult. And so we have to be that positive beacon and that great example for them. So we have to be doubly careful what we say and doubly intentional about what we say, because we are so influential for our students that we're teaching throughout the course of the year. So I want to go back to that Brendon Burchard post because he does mention education in here. It's the ideas for personal change. Oh, yes. It's under the ideas for social reform. It says teach peace, acceptance, meditation, anger management, and emotional intelligence in all schools. Also, teach ethics and civil leadership so more people understand peaceful protests, learn the true negative lasting effects of looting, and seek community-based policy solutions. That's big. That's a call for educational reform. And here's the deal, you guys. I 100% agree with that. All of those things should be check boxes that we got to take care of. And here's the thing. It is not one more thing on our plates. It is the thing that should be on our plates. Who the hell cares about alliteration or perfect paragraph structure or some of the content? Who cares about that? Where's the skill? Where's the teaching empathy? Where's the teaching of that emotional intelligence? And I had said that, so one of the books that was on my book stack for summer reading, when I talked about set up for summer success, making a list of books, I finished the book, The Coddling of the American Mind. And this, there is so much that is going on right now that just kind of fits in with all of that. And here's the deal, y'all. We got to have our kids struggle. They need to struggle. We cannot answer all of their questions. We need to be focusing on problem solving, collaboration, cooperation, empathy. We need that portrait of a graduate. And here's the deal. Our portrait of a graduate in our district has nothing to do with knowing the makeup of a cell. It's got nothing to do with that. It has to do with being a decent human being and being able to tackle problems when they arise and to be solution oriented. And how many of us are actually teaching that? How many of us are so gung-ho with that stupid Romeo and Juliet unit that you will not let go of because you don't want to teach empathy? And here's the deal. In language arts and social studies or history, we have the ability to teach these lessons through content. Sure, when we read A Long Walk to Water, we talk about parallel structure. We talk about point of view. We talk about things and how that affects the reading of the novel. But we also talk about what would you do if war came to your school right now? What would you do? Where would you go? How would you survive? We analyze the landscape of the desert that he has to cross. Lots of teachers do the empathy walk where kids have to go carry jugs of water, and a lot of times, you guys, it's like a quarter or an eighth of the way that Naya walks in that book. And we watch the documentary and we read stories of people who have come to our city from Sudan and South Sudan. We read those stories and we connect with them. And that empathy, that understanding, that compassion, I get to do that with my content. But we also need math and science and electives to hop on with that collaboration and that problem solving. And if something doesn't go right in a lab, instead of saying, which direction didn't you follow? Or didn't you read the directions? I wonder what happened. See if you can figure it out. Or when a kid says, I can't find this answer, I'm not telling them a page number. Like, no. I think a lot of this lack of problem solving, of perseverance, of resilience that's in our kids right now, there's a lot of it that's missing. And I think that was really highlighted in distance learning. And we need to, it was already obvious we needed to be intentional about that, but now we have a whole nother layer with the circumstances that happened in Minneapolis. It is now a huge beacon of light that we have to follow. We have to be teaching these skills and this emotional intelligence and awareness and response and how you deal with things. That's got to be on our plate. And I know a lot of people give the argument of that's the parent's job. It's not happening. Yeah, parents need help, but we got to do the best we can with the time that we have with those kids. And if we know, which we do, we know better now, right? It was shined in front of our faces. It was like a big red banner hanging in front of us saying, these kids don't know how to problem solve, work together, be resilient. Not all of them. I don't want to generalize here. But a lot of them really are struggling with things that I feel like my generation just naturally kind of does. Like, think about it a little bit. Try something different. Fail. Screw up. Whatever. And there's just become this like fear of screwing up or having feelings hurt. And you know what? Your feelings are going to get hurt. And you might get laughed at because you said something stupid. But you know what? It's all about your response to it. You know? We have to teach those things. It's so important that we do. Like I said, this isn't another thing on our plates. This should be the thing on our plates. And every single teacher needs to figure out how you can be teaching these things in your room, with or without your content. It has to happen. It has to happen. And let's be real. You can fit it into every single problem solving, every content. Having kids collaborate, every content. Do it. You got to teach it. You got to give them strategies, and them experiencing a plethora of difficulty now with support and guidance. When they go out, when they're 18 years old, they're going to be so ready. They're going to be so ready because they're going to be prepared for the road. They're going to be prepared for their path that they're going to take. And I just feel like if we do that for these kids, if we give them these things, my God, the world's going to get better. It's gonna. Can't get worse. Knock on wood. It's got to get better. So, another post that I saw, I actually saw it on Unglued Market's Instagram, but it is a quote by Leslie Dwight. And it says, what if 2020 isn't canceled? What if 2020 is the year we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw that it finally forces us to grow. A year that screams so loud, finally awakening us from our ignorant slumber. A year we finally accept the need for change, declare change, work for change, become the change. A year we finally band together instead of pushing each other apart. 2020 isn't canceled, but rather the most important year of them all. That's great. That's great. Let's capitalize on it. You know, and this change, this call for educational reform, this change will not be easy. We are going to be breaking hundreds and hundreds of year old system. This is an old system. And people have been talking for the past 10 years about change, and dang it, if we haven't been slapped across the face with COVID and Black Lives Matter, then we need to freaking wake up. People have been talking about the need for change for years, and it is freaking time. With change is going to come, everybody's going to have their own ideas within this change, within this whole idea of educational reform. And I think it was actually during a Steve Dunn training I was in. I'm not sure if it was Steve himself who said this or if he alluded to somebody else. I can't quite remember. But it was about the idea of compromising. And this idea of compromise, there's this connotation attached to it where this person has this idea, this person has this idea. So to compromise, we're going to take a little of this person's and a little of this person's, and we're just going to kind of make this thing that's sort of okay. But the thing that you should do, instead of compromise is like kind of taking it down. What we should be doing is synthesizing ideas, and you have this idea, you have this idea. Let's build off this, and create something that is amazing, rather than something that's just okay because we compromised. Nah, ooh, that's cool, let's build. Ooh, that's cool, let's build. You know what I mean? And it's a building up rather than a taking down. And that's what has to happen with educational reform. What was the good stuff with distance learning? Because there was good stuff. What's the good stuff with technology? Because there's good stuff. But what are the detriments? What were the things that were in our way when it came to distance learning? And those things that are in our way, well, guess what? If we don't go right back to school this fall, they're still gonna be in our way. We gotta have every kid having internet. If we're going to be doing flipped classrooms, if we're going to be using technology, they need to have access. That is crucial. That is key, is access. And we were able to get that. We were able to get that once we started distance learning, but that can't just magically disappear. That cannot disappear. We got to level that playing field as far as access goes. And then what is getting in our way when it comes to technology? One of the statistics that I read in The Coddling of the American Mind is that students in like the middle school age range, they should not have more than 2 hours of screen time a day. Whoa. How many of them have just 2 hours once they get home after about 4 hours on it at school? It's negatively impacting the development of their brains. We can be innovative and using technology across contents without damaging effects. And the older students get, the more they can be on that tech. But we really got to make sure we're giving them the breaks, that it's snippets, that we're having conversations cross content areas that's about the time the kids are on computers. Or are there cross content projects that could be happening where tech can be incorporated, but it is not the only thing that's happening. So we have problems that we need to develop solutions for. But if we just keep building, we're going to create a much better system. I know that I shouldn't say a lot of administrators, but some things that administrators and parents, and I mean honestly even teachers, lots of stakeholders here, talk about logistical issues. This might sound insensitive, but logistics don't matter. Our students do. Taking care of them and teaching them some tough lessons and teaching them how to emotionally react, how to be a civil leader, how to walk the walk and talk the talk, how to respond to negativity, how to promote positivity, how to take care of themselves inside and out. That's the most important thing. That's the most important thing. Guess what? We'll figure out busing. Guess what? We'll figure it out. We'll figure out the lunchroom schedule. We'll figure out the recess schedule. We'll figure that out. But we got to focus in on what matters most. And once that's established, let's build around it. Get the logistics. And it's interesting because so often, and I'm one of these people too, I will admit it, I'm one of these people that's like, how is that going to work? How's that going to work? Because you do need people to be like that devil advocate, because sometimes, like things aren't just like sunshine and rainbows, but we need creative solutions for an educational reform. Exactly what that looks like, I don't know. I'm just one brain. But do I think the 5-paragraph essay is important? Nah. And I'm an English teacher. I don't think it's important. Do I think they need to know how to write to an audience? Yup. That's really important. Do they need to be effective communicators? Oh yeah. Through a variety of lenses? Oh yeah. But that is so much more life skill than it is content. So in summary, I'm already over a half hour. So in summary, I'm calling for educational reform. It's time to teach our students skills over content. It's time to get everyone on board using technology effectively. And it's time to educate all teachers, all school personnel about systemic racism, about how we can battle it, and how we can be empathetic without coddling. Because solving their problems for them will hurt them more than help them. And I get that a lot of us want to do that. We want to take that pain away. We want to do that for them. We cannot. Because a lot of times our good intentions are doing more harm than good. If we take the pain, if we take the hurt, if we take the problem for them, they're not going to be ready for it when they leave our loving arms. We got to prepare them. How do we react? We got to coach them through that stuff. We as teachers in our professional development need more information about racism and about empathy. And I know that my district is so focused on like the content and that we teach and the books that our kids are reading are diverse. I've mentioned the windows and mirrors idea before, where kids see different perspectives, but they also see themselves within books, that there is a balance of that going on. And I am just so grateful for our curriculum team, because I feel like they really are focused on that and are very, very intentional about that. and are always working to do better within that lens. But everybody's got to be on board. Everybody needs to understand what's been happening in the past, why this is happening now, and what solutions can we create to help the world be better. And it starts with our kids. And if it starts with our kids, you guys, it starts with us. So let's sit back and take the time to consider, what are the best parts of education right now? What are the best parts of technology? What's in our way in those areas that we need to find solutions for? What are the best skills for our students? And within this solution, let's not compromise, but let's build a better educational system so we can build a better world.